Pete, I've jumped over to our next segment, Unearthed Arcana. I'm going to let you start that off, and I'll be right back now.
We're going to look next at the new Unearthed Arcana. This is Subclasses 4, I believe. I have to get it up on my end, if you'll give me just a second here to do so. So, anyone unfamiliar with Unearthed Arcana? Unearthed Arcana is a regular kind of article that's published by Wizards, where they introduce new concepts that are currently in playtest. So when you see new Unearthed Arcana coming out, this is something that they're still working with, design that they're still toying in, but really what you're seeing is stuff that has the potential to be the future published content in Dungeons and Dragons. And people have the opportunity to look at it, give them back some feedback, and so they can see what excites players and what doesn't. Beforehand, so we have two. This is two subclasses that they have here, and they are different. Oh my goodness, these are very elaborate. I'm just scrolling down. This is my first time looking at all of these. I'm excited to kind of see what they are, but I don't know much about what we got to deal with. It looks like we have two subclasses. One is a Bard subclass called the College of Spirits, and the next one is the Undead subclass, which is a Warlock subclass whose patron is an undead being. Which it seems to be just like a kind of a rehash of, there's already a Warlock patron called the Undying, which is obviously an undead patron. So this is that is historically, it's known to be kind of a weaker Warlock patron. So they're probably trying to just do a slightly more impactful version of that concept, because it's a good concept for sure.
Yeah, it's funky. I'm interested to talk about that, actually. You can hear me, right?
I can hear you.
All right, we're good. All right. I'm very excited to talk about this, because there's a lot to bring up in this Unearthed Arcana. I'm not sure how much we cover, but basically, for those unawares, Unearthed Arcana is a segment released by Wizards of the Coast.
I actually just explained all that. You're good.
All right, we're all good then.
We can just dive right into the College of Spirits. We're ready to go.
Hell yes. This is a very familiar subclass to me. It's a Bard subclass, and this is how it starts. Stories of the past are powerful. They hold the lessons of history, philosophy, and magic. Bards of the College of Spirits seek the stories of those from beyond the material plane. Using gambling sets, they reach out to hear their stories, but bards have no control over what story they find. And they gain these features at 3rd level, Guiding Whispers. You can reach out to spirits to guide you and others. You learn the Guidance cantrip, which doesn't count against the number of bard spells you know, or bard cantrips you know. For you, it has a range of 60 feet when you cast it. Additionally, they gain spiritual focus at 3rd level, and it gets enhanced at 6th level. Your practice of contacting spirits can employ special tools. You can use the following objects as spellcasting focus for your bard spells: a candle, a crystal ball, a talking board, a Taroka deck, or a skull. And then at 6th level, when you cast a bard spell that deals damage or restores hit points through spiritual focus, you roll 1d6, and you gain a bonus to one roll of the spell equal to the number rolled. Oh. All right.
I like the idea of that floating d6. So this is familiar.
This is a similar kind of in concept to my Mystique Bard.
And I'm seeing the way that they did Bardic Inspiration was also very similar. I haven't read any of this yet, but I can see there's just different things for what the inspiration is.
Yeah, interesting.
So let's look at Tales from Beyond. This seems like kind of the core feature. Probably go back on some of these tales because there's a whole page of them. But let me read the core thing here. Also, just to very quickly talk about the stuff we already talked about, the concept is obviously solid. Because we've talked about how solid this concept is already, and the Guidance cantrip.
They took it in a much different kind. Not different, but a much more focused direction than my College of Mystique. I left mine very open-ended with the occult and stuff. This is very much contacting spirits in the afterlife. Also, it's a more focused interpretation of it.
Jeremy, did we get another follower?
Oh my God, Painstar 211, thank you.
Painstar 211, thank you.
I hope you're not in any pain.
Likewise. I like the Guidance cantrip range increase thing.
Yeah.
I actually don't really like the guidance cantrip, but I like the design of having a buffed up guidance cantrip, if that makes sense.
I completely agree with you. Very much overused cantrip. And over-abused cantrip, rather.
People have a little bit too much expectation about what guidance can do, but that's a topic for another day.
Yeah.
Tales from Beyond. You reach out to spirits who tell their tales through you. While you are holding your spiritual focus, you can use a bonus action to expend one of your Bardic Inspiration and roll on the spirits table using your Bardic Inspiration die to determine the tale told. You retain the tale in mind until you bestow the tale's effect, or you finish a short or long rest. You can use an action to choose one creature you can see within 30 feet of you. This can be you, to be the target of the tale's effect. Once you do so, you can't bestow the tale's effect again until you roll it again. You can only retain one of these tales in mind at a time, and rolling on the spirit's tale's table immediately ends the effect of the previous tale. If the tale requires a saving throw, the DC is equal to your spell save DC. So Jeremy, tell me if I'm interpreting this right. When you roll this is instead of Bardic Inspiration.
Yes, as a bonus action, instead of using your Bardic Inspiration, you can roll the Bardic Inspiration die and you gain a benefit based on this. Sorry, you gain the ability to bestow a benefit based on what you roll on the table. It's like a preemptive, I'm trading my Bardic Inspiration for a random feature on
one of these random effects.
Yeah.
And then I can use it later on, and what is the action?
Action, I can give it to someone else later.
Okay, so basically...
Very complicated.
You gain a single use... So you expend a Bardic Inspiration dice to gain a single use feature that's like a 1-a-day cast that has a casting time of an action.
No. You can technically, let's say you bonus action, you wake up from your long rest, right? It's the morning. Bonus action, I'm going to roll on my Tales from Beyond table. So you spend one of your Bardic Inspirations, and you gain one of these abilities. At any point before your next rest, as an action, you can give an ally or yourself the benefit of that ability. And any time after you've done that, you could use your bonus action to roll again and try and get another feature.
You basically wasted the first one if you did that.
Well, no, because if you
giving out the feature.
Well, no, because once you've given out the feature, the other creature has the feature. But if you roll on the table again, that feature immediately ends if it was currently affecting another creature.
Okay.
This is so complicated. This
is the opposite of elegant design.
Yeah, this is so convoluted. This is so not 5e.
I don't know if we want to even read all of these features on here.
I'd like to, because one of the things that really kind of got me on this is, Pete, there's even more nuance to this table. And that is because you roll your Bardic Inspiration die, at first level, or at third level when you get this, you can only roll up to the first 6 entries on the table.
That was
when your die gets
bigger
as you level up.
I actually kind of like that a bit.
It's kind of neat, but it's also just a little weird.
And like, I assume the stakes get higher as you go up. Like, I can tell just language-wise.
You would think.
It starts off with like Beast Warrior, Friends, Runaway, Avenger, Hero, like human stories. And then it moves up to Fays and Dark Spirits, and then like Dragons and Giants, and then Celestials and the Unknown. Like,
yeah, let's like look at what these. All of them are combat features.
Let's look at Beast.
Combat features.
That's good,
Beast.
Actually.
You recite the tale of a clever animal. For 1 minute, the target has an advantage on perception checks and advantage on attack rolls against a creature if another enemy is within 5 feet of it and that enemy isn't incapacitated.
So you get pack tactics and perception.
Yes.
Okay.
Which I don't know about you, but you recite the tale of a clever animal? That's not at all where I thought they were going with like guiding spirits and talking to the dead, and that just does not follow to me. My brain just does not follow there.
James Taze was saying, I like the ghost stories idea, but what if it were something before a long rest that had an effect the next day if the rest is uninterrupted? There's definitely something about telling a story in an instant, Angstays, that feels a little bit off, and I think maybe
Yeah.
like in some way tying it to rest so you have time to like get across the idea of telling a ghost story. I think that's a cool direction they could have gone.
And it's weird because like then at second level warrior, right? So that first level is like, oh, you're granting people magic based on the story you've heard. But then the second level, you'll count the story of an unknown duelist, make a melee attack against the target, make a melee spell attack against the target as an attacking spectral warrior briefly appears in the unoccupied space within 5 feet of the target before vanishing. On a hit, the target takes force damage equal to the 2 rolls of your bardic inspiration die plus your charisma modifier.
That is wild.
Yeah, and these are just all wild as hell. And I mean, jumping up some of the end game features like Dragon, you can only get Dragon once you've hit 10th level in Bard.
You breathe a poem of a wrathful dragon. I like that language better.
Better language, but go ahead.
The target magically spews fire from their mouth in a 30-foot cone. Each creature in that area must make a dexterity saving throw, taking fire damage equal to 3 rolls of your bardic inspiration die on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one.
Your 10th level feature is you can roll a d10 to maybe do 3. You can spend one of your bardic inspiration to maybe do 3d10 damage.
AoE.
Yeah, okay, it's like, all right, dude, I cast a 2nd level burning hand. Like,
bards are bad.
Yeah, like there's just not a lot of this bang for buck for these.
I want to hear the unknown. You utter an incomprehensible fable from a being beyond the stars. Choose a
I like
creature
that language, being beyond the stars.
I think you would. Choose a creature you can see within 30 feet of you. The target must succeed on an in-save or take psychic damage equal to 3. Oh, well, same thing. Equal to 3 rolls of your bardic inspiration die, and is unable to speak any language for 1 minute. It's just not really worth your turn.
Yeah, because it takes your bonus action, your bardic inspiration die, and your action on a subsequent turn to do all this. They're not super impactful. It's really overcomplicated. And frankly, there's a lot of flavor that they've kind of forced into this that I'm not really totally getting.
It's I'm not crazy about this design. For me, it's just that they're saying like you recite the tale. For example, like Runaway, you tell the tale of an adventurer that could escape any confinement. You have 6 seconds every round of combat, so what that has to literally be is, there was once an adventurer that could escape any confinement, and then that person's like, oh, I can teleport. Like, it's just like, it's so gamey. It's just incredibly gamey.
Yeah, it's also just so, everything from like the text in the feature to how many, I mean, there's a whole page for this one feature. It's so complex.
Yeah, after 232 is an incomprehensible fable. Do you just say, and that counts as a tale? Apparently. But yeah, you've hit on the same nail that I have. Only if there's a talking animal in there somewhere, says Angstay's fables have entry requirements.
So let's move on to the 6th level feature, because I like this conceptually, but there's part where this just gets weird. You can channel spirits to gain insights into magic. We're on theme again. You can conduct a 1-hour-long ritual channeling spirits, which can be done during a short or long rest, using your spiritual focus. You can conduct the ritual with a number of creatures equal to your proficiency bonus, including yourself, and at the end of the ritual, you temporarily learn 1 spell of your choice from any class. The spell you choose must be of a level equal to the number of creatures that have conducted the ritual or less, and the spell must be of a level you can cast, and it must be of the school of divination or necromancy. The chosen spell counts the bard spell for you, but doesn't count against the number of bard spells you know, and once you perform the ritual, you can't do so again until you start a long rest, and you know the chosen spell until you start a long rest. Yeah, I know my design did this better, V-Bunny. There's so many, like, but only if in this feature.
I actually did this kind of in the same way on the Bartholomew's Choice.
My Mystique Bard had this same feature, except it was just a much broader scope.
It was just you got all the you mean the divination and necromancy thing?
Yeah.
Um,
like I get where they're trying to go for here, but adding all this nuanced limitation of like you need number of creatures equal to your proficiency bonus, and you can learn a spell, but only if it's this, that, and the other thing. Like, what are you doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not a
This is so messy.
yeah, it's not a again elegant design, and the idea of okay, so what it comes down to is you do a seance with your friends to get an effect, and that's what they want to get across. And really, what it should come down to, like,
They gotta pick their battles.
They gotta care about exactly one thing. There's the design thing that they should take away here is they should boil it down to one thing that matters for this. And maybe make that be not the spell level, like maybe just be the number of people that do it. Maybe it's just the.
Oh, that's so tedious, though.
Well, I think it's okay to, like, if you want that flavor of a seance and having it be like the group of people communicating, like having one variable is okay. But the spell just has a lot of things, like involving the spell's level and the school and the like. There's just too many things. So I think
your proficiency bonus and
it'd be cool if it was just less things.
And it's an hour long. Like, this isn't a short thing.
Yeah, and there's not a lot of spells that are that good.
No, I looked at this. The only damaging spell, hard stop, that you get out of this is Inflict Wounds. I'm sorry, and Vampiric Touch. But Vampiric Touch is
it's
really
not like you'd ever do that because it's an hour.
All of the other features are stuff like Speak with Dead and Revivify. They're things that are, like, I think more fitting. Like, I think it's actually very fitting for what they were going for here. The spell list they've limited it to. But, like,
Want to do Mystical Connection?
Yeah. This I kind of get, but it's still weird. You want me to take it, Peter, or you want to hit it?
I'll grab it. Your connection to spirits has become semi-permanent. Whenever you use your Tales from Beyond feature, you can roll a d6 and use it instead of expending a Bardic Inspiration die. You still use your Bardic Inspiration die for the Tales effect without expending it.
This design actually works for me.
Yeah, I like it too. The problem with most Bard things is that they have this one cool resource called Bardic Inspiration and everything taxes it. This actually feels like it should have been the kind of thing that they got, that Bards got, instead of you regain Bardic Inspiration like you get one back when you re-roll it. It should have been you can use a d6 for your Bardic Inspiration instead of it should be on the core Bard class.
Well, there is one qualm with it here, and that is because of the way the Tales from Beyond works.
Yeah,
you can just roll, you get the tail, then you just tell the tail to somebody to get rid of it and just re-roll until you get the 6 or whatever one you want of the first 6. You can just bank any one story by just I rolled a 3. I don't want 3 right now. I tell the story and roll again. Just out of combat forever. It's a little weird.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of how Warlocks with the false life invocation, right? Can just be like, oh yeah, I roll until I have the maximum 10 hit points. Like,
out of combat,
all right. Yeah, I don't know.
It can do that.
Yeah.
And like that's the kind of exploit. That's the kind of exploit that's not worth designing around. Because that would just like to fix that, you'd have to like rework spells almost. But
well, I mean specifically like with this feature, right? Like,
no, I'm with you. Yeah, this feature doesn't need to have that. I'm saying with this false life thing, that's like such a
big. You can't fix that.
It's like an okay error for there to be in the like flaw in the design, but this is manageable.
Yeah.
Like,
I very much agree. But yeah, it's weird. I mean, I like the flavor, actually. I love the direction they started going with with like the guiding whisper, spiritual focus, and the spirit session at 6th level. I really like that direction. Yeah. It's just what they did with the inspiration, the Tales from Beyond, just is too much for me. And even then, I really am just not into it conceptually, frankly.
I've been putting together a just ideas. I haven't done any actual work on it, but I've been putting together a shaman class, not subclass, that involved like casting spells as rituals that aren't necessarily rituals. And I kind of like like, I don't know. There's definitely space for what they're going for. It just doesn't.
Yeah, it's just a little much. I
Yeah,
think.
let's talk the undead.
Yeah, so this is a wild. I did not expect to see this in a million years, but here we are. The Undead is an entity that resides in the dark corners of the multiverse. Your patron could be a Serarak, Azalin, Lord Soth, Strahd, or some other ancient undead being. You may seek to gain knowledge from your patron's countless lifetimes of experience, while it may see you as a piece in a centuries-long plan. Weird they didn't give Strahd his full name. I've
Yeah.
never seen Strahd not be Strahd
Zarovich?
Zarovich. Yeah. Even in the Paladin, when they reference him in Divine Sense, they give him the full name.
Yeah, I don't know. Doesn't necessarily bother me.
Minor quibble. Yeah, this would be a weird one to play in Curse of Strahd after absolutely correct. It would be a really strange.
It's an interesting story, that's for sure.
Or if you were like, it's a Serarak in Tomb of Annihilation.
Also, an interesting story. But the the betrayer. Who could have seen this coming? Well, everyone.
Strike me down, and I will become more powerful.
The Undead lets you expanded spell list. The Undead lets you choose from an expanded list of spells when you learn a Warlock spell. The following spells are added to your Warlock spell list for you. And the options are Bane and False Life, Blindness, Deafness, and Phantasmal Force, Speak with Dead and Phantom Steed. I like Phantom Steed a lot.
I do too. Very good kid.
Death Ward and Greater Invisibility, Anti-Life Shell, and Cloud Kill. Check out for me.
Yeah, they all check. I was with you, Pete. Phantom Steed was the one where I was like, oh, so it's like literally a ghost horse. It's not like a spectral horse spirit that you're summoning. This is like really the ghost of a horse, because super evil.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah, very cool.
I liked it. I'll talk about this first level feature they got. And actually, before I even dive into that, do we want to talk about where this stands compared to the Undying? Or do we want to do that maybe at the end?
Yeah, let's compare and contrast at the end. I like to look at it in a vacuum first.
Okay. Form of Dread. You manifest an aspect of your patron's dreadful power. As a bonus action, you transform for 1 minute. You gain the following benefits while transformed. You gain temporary hit points equal to 1d10 plus your Warlock level. All right. Once during each of your turns, when you hit a creature with an attack, you can force it to make a Wisdom saving throw, and if the saving throw fails, the target is frightened of you until the end of your next turn, and you're immune to the fighting condition. You can transform a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you retain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. The appearance of your Form of Dread reflects some aspects of your patron. For example, your form could be shrouded in a shroud of shadows, forming the crown and robes of your Lich patron, or your face might transform into bat-like features due to your vampire patron.
I am kind of okay with this.
Yeah, I think it works.
I don't really like it. I don't really want to play with this at all.
Yeah,
it's
not super inspiring.
Yeah.
But it works. It works, right?
Agreed.
Jin Hall was asking in chat, weird question for making subclasses. When a subclass gives you spells, for example, up here, do you take the spells from all classes, or do you take it only from certain classes? That's a really good question, actually. And it depends on the subclass. Unfortunately, it's not a really straight answer. Some subclasses require require that the spell not be of the class. Like the Warlock, it has to be a non-Warlock spell.
Yes.
Can't be anything else. Can't be a Warlock spell. Whereas the Cleric, for example, they can be from anything. Any class, including
their own class. Yeah. I think that Warlock is the only exception to that rule.
Yeah, I think you're right. Warlock has some weird exceptions to it.
So yeah, I think Warlock, you can't put Warlock spells, but Artificer. Artificer is the class that I know the least about, as it's the newest one, and I haven't played one or interacted with it all that much, so I can't answer with certainty for Artificer. Do you know, Jeremy?
I don't. I'm sorry. I think the Artificer spell list. Goodness, I'm just not sure. Apologies.
Yeah, you hit us right in our weak point, which is the Artificer. I will, or if you're on our Discord, Jin Hall, message me, and I'll look into this after we're all done and see if I can get a better answer for you. I'll give it a read through as well. But yeah, let's move on. Sorry, I couldn't give you a better answer there. Do you want to do Grave Touched, or would you like me to?
Oh my goodness, our signature Artificer Blood Deuce. Thank you. Thank you. You want me to do Grave Touch, Pete?
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Your patron's powers have a profound effect on your body and magic. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. In addition, when you hit a creature with an attack roll and attack and roll damage against the creature, you can replace the damage type with necrotic damage. While you are using your Form of Dread, you can roll one additional damage die when determining the necrotic damage the target takes. So, while you're in your Form of Dread, your Eldritch Blasts do 2d10 damage now. Okay.
You're using your Form of Dread, you can roll one additional damage. Yeah, it's not a good. It's not a great look.
Yeah, they were just like, hey guys, remember the Hexblade Warlock we made that like was way stronger than all the other Warlocks but only against one target per rest. Well, we have a subclass for you.
This has got to be a balance. I can't accept that Wizards would ever think that the D&D would ever think that it was okay to have that, which means that like this is just a design. They're just putting this here. I'm gonna just talk about the first part of that and ignore that because it's impossible for that to exist in the game. And if it did exist in the game, it would just be the best thing.
I cannot believe that this was designed by some of the people that designed some of the other stuff that we've seen.
Anyway, in addition, when you hit a creature with an attack roll and damage, you can place the damage with necrotic damage. That's also very good.
That's also wild.
And then your patron's powers have a profound effect on your body and magic. You don't need to eat, drink, or breathe. I love that. I actually think that that's great. As a 6th level undead feature, you get the benefits of being an undead, essentially. It doesn't make you like immune to poison or anything crazy, but you get the fun of being able to like ghost walk underwater because you don't breathe and stuff like I don't know. It's cool.
Yeah, I think Sword actually hit the nail on the head. Not every rock's a gem. Yeah, no, this one's gold. Yeah, it's also really going hard in that Form of Dread. Like, we're doubling down.
How often do you use Form of Dread?
Proficiency bonus. Number of times equal to your proficiency bonus.
Pretty much, so always is the answer.
Yeah, as far as it matters.
Short rest, long rest?
It's long.
Okay.
So like a long dungeon crawl, it might actually be somewhat limited.
But that's a rare. Anyway, Mortal Husk.
Also really weird that it's only when you hit a creature. Like, it literally is just for Eldritch Blast. The Warlock has like almost no other attack roll spells because so few exist in the game. Anyway, let's talk Mortal Husk. You're right. I'm harping on.
Your connection to undeath and necrotic energy now saturates your body. You have resistance to necrotic damage. Fine. If you are transformed using your Form of Dread, you instead become immune to necrotic damage. Okay. In addition, when you're reduced to 0 hit points, you can cause your body to explode. Whoa! Each creature within 30 feet of you takes necrotic damage equal to 2d10 plus your Warlock level. You then revive with 1 hit point in your previous space along with your gear, and you gain 1 level of exhaustion. Once you revive this way, you can't do so again until you finish 1d4 long rests. What a weird feature. This doesn't...
Yeah! Just put the Baylor explosion!
This doesn't speak to me of being an undead thing. Mortal Husk's a cool name. The idea being that you are just like a shell for necrotic energy, so when you go down, it goes in. Like, the flavor of it, I don't know, it almost works for me, but it's just like... I don't want this feature.
Right, like, why this?
The only thing I can see this doing, because you're a Warlock and you're Eldritch Blasting because you're sick at that, so you're 100 feet away. the whole time, and so you're either gonna hit nothing or like one ally who's also hanging back with you. Like
Now, Pete, I have a question, right? And that is, why this over some other cool death-related feature?
well, what
I
it
think I
seems
have an
like
answer for it.
yeah, well, it seems like what I thought it was gonna be when I started reading when you're reduced to 0 hit points. I was like, oh, well, you have a chance to do like the zombie I stay alive thing, and I thought that was gonna be cool. The answer is to answer your question why, Jeremy, is I don't know. It's just what they thought was cool and it worked for them.
No, it's because they're trying not to make this the Undying patron. They're not doing any of the stuff on Undying that's all related to being undead because they want it to be different. That's my thought.
I mean, the Undying patron is actually a pretty well designed subclass. It's just very weak.
Let's talk about this last one, spirit projection.
Yeah.
Your body is now simply a vessel for your spirit. As an action, you can project your spirit from your body. The body you leave behind is unconscious and left in a state of suspended animation. Your spirit can remain outside your body for up to 1 hour or until your concentration is broken, as if concentrating on a spell. When your projection ends, your spirit returns to your body, or your body magically teleports to your spirit's space, your choice. While projecting your spirit, you gain the following benefits. Your spirit and body gain resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. When you cast a spell of conjuration or necromancy school, the spell doesn't require verbal, somatic, or material components that lack a gold cost. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed and can hover, and you can move through creatures and objects as they were difficult terrain, but you take 1d10 of force damage if you ever end your turn inside a creature or object. While you're using your form of dread, once during each of your turns when you deal necrotic damage to a creature, you regain hit points equal to half the amount of necrotic damage dealt. You go and ghost. Oh, I'm sorry. Once you use this feature, you can't do so again until you finish a long rest. Yeah, it's like okay. There's a bunch of like questions I have. So it seems like when your spirit leaves your body, both are totally visible. Like there's no, right?
Yeah.
Like it doesn't answer the simple question. What does it look like?
Yeah, well, that I'm fine with. What I don't fully understand is what is you? Is it just, are both of you just you?
I think you're both you.
I would just like it if it said that for sure. And like for some reason, like you being a spirit, I guess that's the resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. Yeah, I guess that works.
I'm okay with it, I guess.
I actually don't think this is that bad.
Yeah, the thing that's weird to me is you can end your turn like underground. I guess inside creatures or objects. Are walls objects? I guess not. They're terrain? So can you not move through terrain?
Should be included or
or it's intentionally. Yeah, all right. I think it needs a specificity there. Yeah. I think this is meant to disclude terrains. You can't go through walls. And I think that's what I'm going to go for. I'm going to go for that.
Anyway, the fact that you have to concentrate on this feature means that I'm fine with it. Like,
yeah, the thing that's kind of weird to me about it is none of your stuff requires components anymore. So it's like, I roll a stealth check. All right, you're hidden. All right, I cast spells with them and they don't know anything. You know?
Yeah, I mean, that's just a DM question.
It's just weird. It's just some weird.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, I don't think there's much else to say. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. It's
fine,
not like,
but I don't know.
This feature like doesn't break the game for me.
No, it doesn't. I'm just also not into it at all.
I almost like it. Like, I like the idea of being a big ghost, a ghosty ghost, but it's not quite how I'd want to do it, I don't think.
Yeah, it's the execution of the feature more than the flavor that gets me.
Like, I want, like, for an Undying Warlock, I want the...
Undead Warlock. You're not Undying. Different.
It's an Undying. I count it. What I want for a capstone on one of these things is I want to be a lich and I want to put my soul in a phylactery.
Yep.
That's what I want, and I was hoping that was what this would be.
It's like when they made the genie without like a wish thing at the end. Like,
yeah,
what are you doing?
Put me in a phylactery. I want to be
What's
like
wrong
the
with
bad guys. How does like, oh Jeremy, Jeremy, I just had a really cool idea for the thing that I was talking to you about earlier. Can we wait? Let's wrap it up, and then we'll come back.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think overall, Pete, what's our overall view of the Unearthed Arcana?
It's one of the weaker ones we've seen, I think, in a while. They've actually, I think, been on a pretty good streak lately, but this one was not
pretty sloppy.
Yeah, not great. There's some ideas in there that are solid, but for the most part, I wouldn't let someone in one of my games play one of these.
Yeah, no way. I think sloppy is exactly the key word, like the descriptor I would use for a lot of this. There's just a lot of nuance and overrunning complexity in a lot of this that just doesn't need to be there in 5e.
Yeah, it's not the thing that makes 5e great.
Yeah, Spirits was almost good. College of Spirits was like almost there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good design in Spirits, but the whole thing doesn't work. It is a collective.
Yeah, and Undead I just think was a total hodgepodge. There were some cool ideas in there, but it doesn't come together at all.
To boost yourself up for 1 minute with features things rarely work for me. I like tools or single big effects. Like that's what inspires me as a player and a DM. I get a buff for a minute. I usually don't like those kind of features. I won't say a catch-all for that because I've seen good ones, but
yeah, well, of course. A comment about the Undying Warlock. So obviously, chat, you guys have been all about this, but the Undying Warlock is another Warlock patron, and their subclass reads, "Death holds no sway over your patron who has unlocked the secrets of everlasting life. Although such a prize, like all power, comes at a price. Once mortal, the Undying has seen mortal lifetimes pass like the seasons, like the flicker of endless days and nights. It has secrets to ages to share, secrets of life and death. Beings of the sort include Vecna, Lord Hand of the Eye, and the Dread Ewes, the Lich Queen Vol, and the Undying Court, Vlakith, the Lich Queen of the Githyanki, and the Deathless Wizard, Fistandantalis.
Fistandantalis.
I can't believe I said that correctly the first time. So it's like the same thing, right? Like conceptually, we're in the same fucking vibe here, guys. The difference is Undying was specifically designed for the Undying Court. Warlock, the Shadow King, and all of these characters that are specifically for the Forgotten Realms, because it was published in the Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide. A lot of the stuff that was published in Sword Coast Adventurer's Guide has been revised and actually republished in different ways. The Oath of Crown, for example, was totally rehashed and changed into the Oath of Redemption Paladin. That was released obviously well after the fact. And I think this is the exact same direction they're going here with the Undead rather than the Undying. I would assume they were going for a more generally applicable, less setting specific variant of it. but this is not more generally applicable to me than that one. But I think that's why they're okay with doing this republishing. Because I know V Bunny was saying this is stomping all over the Undying, and it is 100%.
Yeah, they wanted to buff up the Undying. They should have just. Yeah. I would have really liked it if they just tried to buff the Undying and did like, here's a new Undying, and didn't try and make a new thing. Because I actually like the Undying. It's just.
Well, it's really good. Like it handles the design really well of your Undead.
It's just kind of too bad to play to like feel good about picking almost. Like
it's honestly, it's fine. Like any like any Warlock, which has me calling Warlocks Paladins. Like any Warlock, you just use Eldritch Blast and you're great. Like you're super effective and you do all the cool Undying stuff. I don't think it's necessarily too bad. I think it just lacks like any singular exciting feature. You know what I mean?
What I will say is that the Undead crushed it on Phantom Steed.
Yeah, very good.
Phantom Steed's great. I don't really have anything else to say on these. Want to wrap up on these?
Yeah, it's
right. We're
kind of disappointing Unearthed Arcana segment.
Yeah, sometimes they can't all be great, but we can learn as much from problems with design as we can from great design. I
totally agree. And it's yeah, it's nice. It's nice to see these sometimes, knowing that even the titans who created this game can bleed, right? Sometimes even some rough ideas come out of
the
it.
elder gods. So I think
yeah.
that's going to bring us to the end of Fantasy Labs. Jeremy, something I wanted to share with you before, and I'm going to talk about it now. I planned on. I had an idea that I was very excited about recently, which was the idea of making spells for things that I think that you should be able to do with spells in 5e that monsters do and dungeons have, but there's no codified way of doing it, so it doesn't make sense how these things come into existence. Just things that the game assumes exist, which don't. And I want to make spells to do things like create like a +1 magic weapon, not to make like high-level artifice, but like a spell that would create a weapon, or a spell that would like make a permanent illusion. Jeremy, just now, what about a 9th level spell to put your soul into a phylactery with the right material components? Like, wouldn't that be so righteous?
It's interesting that you say that, because there's actually, if in the Curse of Strahd module, I'm not going to say where this is, but there is actual, I believe, like rough cut instructions for if one of your players wants to try and become a lich, this is what they would have to do.
Oh, really?
Yes, there is. Not going to say anything else about where you could find that in the module, but it does exist.
Anyway, that was the thing that was just exciting me a lot, was the idea of like being like, oh yeah, well, why isn't there a way to just do the phylactery thing if you want?
Well, I think we could easily make it into a very brutal 9th level spell.
Make a lot of sense. Just all of these things, of course, having extremely high material component costs.
Well, the material component cost is probably what, like a 10,000 GP art object and 1,000 willing victims.
Yeah, I was actually thinking 100 sacrifices to like die as a part of it. I think a 9th level spell that's just greater contingency would be great. So that's
Christ blood.
I've been wanting to do some sort of spells of that nature, and I've also been wanting to like offer some like design tasks to people throughout the week for all you lab rats out there. So you might hear something about that throughout the coming week, in terms of that idea, if people are into that as much as I am. But we'll see.
Spells are always very cool. It's
Fantasy Labs homework after. Yeah, I wanted to do some Fantasy Labs homework with you. So we'll see. I'll message you guys about that later on.
Yeah, stay tuned, guys. Just keep up to date on our Discord. And if you're not there, you're all already there. But if you're not there, find it on our website, dndtime.stream, and share this with your friends. Tell everyone else about all this awesome stuff that we're doing. You know, if you know someone who maybe DMs and you think could gain some benefit from our knowledge here, send them along.
Absolutely.
Or if they just want to hang out and just be part of the fun, like, yeah.
And tune in on Friday to Pete and Jeremy's D&D time. We run one-shots with our community, if you don't already know that. You can learn more about it by going to www.dndtime.stream or joining our Discord, and we'll get you set up for that if you're interested in playing games with us on Fridays.
Absolutely.
I got nothing else, Jeremy, other than to say that I love you all very much. One last thank you to everyone who hung out, and especially to those who took the challenge with us and who you know, shared their work with us, because that's how we all grow and get better as homebrewers, is by practicing and seeing other people's work and commenting on it and learning from each other. So
absolutely, and I hope that at least one of you have been inspired by the awesome stuff that we've seen here today. I know I have.
Yeah, likewise.
I'm very, very excited to see how we continue to go. He's Pete.
He's Jeremy, and this is
Fantasy Labs.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.